Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Friday, May 5th, 2023. I am Dave Biddle, very happy joined by Steve Helwagen. Jay Book is out of town. He's on vacation, for those that are wondering. Happy Steve could join me. A lot to get into, my friend. Let's start with this. So if you look at the betting odds, I almost said the Vegas odds, but gambling's legal here in Ohio, as Alabama baseball fans know. My gosh, that's a crazy story. But you look at the betting odds, Ohio State is the favorite, slight favorite over Michigan to win the Big Ten this year. I was looking at The Athletic this morning. Stuart Mandel has his predictions out. He has Michigan as the favorite. Not an outlandish prediction. They've beaten Ohio State 2 straight years. The game is in Ann Arbor this year. Michigan is returning a lot of starters. Who do you think should be the favorite in the Big Ten this year, Steve?
I think Ohio State. I think they've got more talent, but it's close. I have a hard time trying to find a weakness on this team other than the obvious. The offensive line is not quite up to stuff just yet. I think the defense is going to be much improved. And so you kind of factor all that in. I think a new quarterback obviously impacts things a little bit. But by the time they play the games that are going to really matter, which is Penn State and Michigan, the quarterback will have had 6 or 7 games under their belt. So I'm not that worried about the quarterback position. I think you do have to be a bit concerned about the offensive line, although they did make some movement to try and address that, picking up Josh Simmons, the transfer from San Diego State, who could potentially come in and even start at offensive tackle for Ohio State this year. So guess we'll have to see how that all plays out when they get into preseason camp. But to me, as of today, you could flip a coin, I suppose, between the two. They're that closely matched. Does losing to Michigan 2 years in a row spur this Ohio State team on to play even better than it possibly is capable of playing? I don't know. I guess time will tell on that. But, they've had their nose rubbed in it now 2 years in a row. And, you react to that or you don't. And I think that it sets up pretty well for Ohio State, in my opinion. Again, as I said, you look at these mock drafts, 6 first-round picks for Ohio State. You better win some football games with that kind of talent or people are going to start asking some questions.
And you look at it and you can say, well, Ohio State lost 3 first-round picks. Michigan only lost 1. Michigan had more total draftees than Ohio State did. But really, you look at it, really Ohio State only had 2 that they lost from last year's team that were first-round picks, because Jackson Smith and Jigba really didn't play last year. So really they lost
bottom line,
Harris Johnson Jr. Huge losses. You lose your quarterback, a fantastic quarterback, and the number 1 offensive lineman in the draft in Paris Johnson Jr. Huge losses, but they hardly lost anything on defense. 1 guy on defense drafted for Ohio State, and that's Zach Harrison in the 3rd round. And they've got plenty of talent at defensive end. Nothing against Zach. I don't think they're going to miss him, though, with Tuimoloau back and Sawyer back. And I really like the backup, Steve. I know you do as well, with Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson and those guys. So I agree with the Vegas odds or the Ohio odds, whatever. I agree with the betting odds. I'm picking Ohio State, but it's close. As you mentioned, you could say it's a coin flip, as you mentioned. I do think Ohio State losing 2 years in a row maybe gives them a little bit of a mental edge. I think they're going to be locked in. Of course, I thought that last year too. I thought coming off the loss in 2021, they'd be locked in 2022, and they played tight as hell. And Michigan played loose, and then Michigan got loose and won the game. So we'll see what happens, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What's your take on the quarterback situation with Ohio State? I mean, I think we both agree it's going to be Kyle McCord. Do you think he's going to play very well as a first-year starter if it's him? Are you concerned at all? Like, where are you at with Kyle McCord, or do you think it could be Devin Brown?
Well, I talked about this, I think, the other day on one of our web shows. Question came up, could Devin Brown win this job? And I think most definitely he could. I don't think the injury at the end of the spring football takes him out of the running for the job in the fall. I think he'll be back throwing if he's not back throwing already. So I don't discount him one bit. I think he could steal that job somehow. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, how that competition plays out in preseason camp and what the coaches have to say about it. I think there'll be roles for both of them in the first 3 games, Indiana, Western Kentucky, Youngstown State. However, I know Indiana's the first game. The other two, I don't have the schedule right in front of me, which one's which, and it doesn't really matter. But I do believe that you're going to see both those guys play in each of those games, if at all possible. I think McCord can flourish in this role. I think that once he settled down in the spring game and had the opportunity to throw, I thought he did pretty well. People look at the spring game like it's the 7th game of the World Series or something, like it's some major determining factor in something. It was just another day on the practice field, is all it really was. And so I don't think it shows you how great he could play. I don't think it shows you how bad he could be. I don't think we know. So I think he's going to be fine. The quarterback's the product of the people around him. I think that offensive line is the thing that really has to come together. And I think Justin Fry, Brian Hartline, everybody on that offensive side of the ball, they'll do everything they can to make that group successful. So I'm bullish on Ohio State. I think they can be there, win the Big Ten, make the playoff, play for the national championship. I just want to see some of these lingering questions be answered. And again, having an improved defense makes the margin for error so much bigger for the new quarterback. He doesn't have to play a perfect game for them to beat a great opponent, in my opinion.
Right. Like CJ Stroud pretty much played a perfect game against a great defense in Georgia, and they still lost.
And they lost. Yeah.
I mean, CJ went out like a beast, though. He was even running the ball, which is like we were saying, like we don't need him to be Braxton Miller or even Justin Fields, but pick up some cheap first downs. He did that and then some against Georgia. I don't know what took so long, but you nailed it. They don't have this year. I mean, assuming the defense is going to be better, which I agree it will be, perhaps markedly better. The quarterback doesn't have to be perfect, like you said. And I agree with you. I think whoever it is going to have a good year. I'm not concerned about it. I think, until proven otherwise, Steve, I'm not going to be concerned about quarterbacks under Ryan Day or wide receivers under Brian Hartline. So until proven otherwise, I think whether it's Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, whoever wins that job, I think they're going to be more than fine. But I see a lot of Ohio State fans that are concerned about it. You get on our message board on Bucknuts or even here on, the live chat. I know there's some fans that are concerned about quarterback. I think they're going to be more than fine. I want to ask you about this. You mentioned right tackle. I'm assuming right tackle Josh Simmons transferring in from San Diego State. I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you expect he's going to be the starting right tackle? What do you expect his role is going to be?
I think there's a very good chance he could be the starting right tackle. I liked what I saw on his tape from San Diego State. Kind of a nasty guy, kind of a guy that finishes plays, a guy that knocks people down. And there hasn't been enough of that nastiness, I think, at times at Ohio State. And I think that physicality is something that you got to have if you want to run the football and if you want to protect the quarterback. So you just can't hand slap people and expect them to not get there. So to me, I liked what I saw on the tape of Josh Simmons. Will his skill set, will his athletic ability translate to the Big Ten? He's going to find out very quickly in preseason camp. He's going against some of the better pass rushers around with Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Kenyatta Jackson. Looked like he was fired out of a cannon at times during the spring. And so 97, that's a number in Ohio State lore. And I think he's gonna back that one up, I think, this year a little bit. So, I think he's going to be given every chance. And how quickly can he pick things up? I mean, when you look at Zen Mahalski and Tegra Toshbola, they have the advantage of being in the offense. Same with Fryer. This guy's coming in. He's going to have to learn and compete at the same time, which can be difficult to do. But if he's always cracked up to be, then potentially he'll be the starter. So, again, they're just bringing in another body to compete. If everybody had done what they were supposed to do in the spring, this would not have happened. I think you have to look at it that way, that, jobs are open for a reason, and they go into the transfer portal for a reason. And it wasn't just to rescue some guy from playing Mountain West football for the rest of his life. It was because they need an offensive tackle. So, put two and two together, it's pretty clear that he's going to be given every chance, and the best guy's going to play. Whoever is the best over the test of time is going to play, and I think that can only be a good thing. Competition can only be a good thing at this point.
I want to ask you about center. I feel like we're not talking about that enough. I believe in Carson Hinsman. I wish Luke Whippler would have come back another year, though, because I think Carson Hinsman's going to be a very good center in the future. He's going to have to be a very good center this year, though, presuming he beats out Vic Cutler, another transfer they brought in. They did a great job in the transfer portal. Josh Simmons, Vic Cutler, Davison Igbinosun was a great get. Jihad Carter. Great get. I mean, they did a fantastic job in the portal. Kudos to them. Center, though. Luke Whippler leaves early after 3 years, gets drafted in the 6th round by your Browns. Great value for the Browns, but Luke made a mistake. Anyway, getting past that, is center a concern with Carson Hinsman being a redshirt freshman, with Vic Cutler coming in from Louisiana Monroe and seemingly being behind Carson Hinsman? Vic Cutler looks kind of small to me, Steve. I don't know what you think. Is center a concern for you at all?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit. Because that position is so important. They have to snap the ball consistently on every play, and also have to make calls for the line and get everybody on the same page. And in this offense, that can be a difficult job. But we've seen, obviously, Whippler came in. I don't remember his exact chronology. If he went red shirt, then he played as a backup, then he started.
Red shirt started. We thought it was going to be Harry Miller, but then we didn't know what was going on. Now we know what's happening with Harry Miller. So Whippler redshirted, then started in 2021 and in 2022.
So it's the same thing as Hinsman, basically going from not playing to potentially being a starter. Jacob James is also, and he's a veteran guy. He's also in this competition when he gets healthy for fall camp. So you got 3 guys battling for the job. I don't have a doubt that it's going to get taken care of. I think, again, center is a position, provided they can snap the ball, which is, as we talk about it, such an important part of the job. You need to trigger the play with a great snap to get the thing started. And, you can't have the quarterback looking for the football or diving for the ball, or, can't turn it over on a snap. I mean, it does happen about twice a year, but you don't want that, obviously. So that's the most important thing, is to get the play started the right way and then execute your blocking. Don't let the pocket get collapsed up the middle right into the quarterback's lap, because he wants to take his drop and then step up and step into his throw. And he can't do that if the center is getting collapsed into the pocket. So got to hold his ground. Hinsman's such a big kid. I think that works to his favor. Cutler, to me, could be a versatile piece, could play, probably any of the 5 positions if they needed him to. Played tackle at Louisiana Monroe and held his own against some good opponents like Alabama. Matthew Jones, to me, is kind of intriguing because he was a center at one time as well. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if at some point they arrive on the fact that maybe their best 5 is him at center and put somebody else, at guard, whoever it could be, whether it's the fellow we were talking about earlier, Simmons, or Cutler, or, whoever. I don't know that we know all the permutations this thing could really have until they get into the fall, though we didn't see Matthew Jones rep much, if at all, at center this spring. So, to me, that would have made sense for Matthew Jones to come back for one more year to improve his stock and play center, because then he could show the NFL, I could start at center, I could start at guard, and help his marketability. I thought that would have made sense. But I also like the long-term planning of this, that Hinsman can now be a 2 or 3 year starter at center as well. So I'm good with whatever Fry cooks up. And the good news is that they've got talent. They've got about 7 or 8 guys who I think you can have faith in playing across the 5-man unit. and you could see a guy at guard one week and at tackle the next, and that wouldn't bother me in the least. So I'm all for it. Again, competition makes everybody better, and at least they've got bodies who are capable competing for these jobs.
Yeah, getting Simmons was huge. Question from Facebook from Wesley: are we still healthy? No more injuries? Yeah, coming out of spring, to answer the question, they are healthy. I mean, they're going into camp. You never know what's going to happen over the summer, but assuming nothing happens over the summer, they are healthy, and this includes guys coming off of injuries. So guys like Evan Pryor, Travion Henderson's already been cleared for full, not contact, but for full everything they're doing with conditioning. He's been cleared for. So yeah, I mean, they didn't have Mitchell Melton last year. He had the tore his ACL in the spring game. There was nothing like that this year. So they escaped healthy. Jihad Carter had a little bit of a scare there during spring. We're hearing he's fine. So all good on the injury front so far, knock on wood. All right.
Mitchell Melton is an intriguing guy, number 17.
Yeah.
He repped with the defensive line, during spring. I mean, he didn't do any 11-on-11, but did position drills. And if he's a guy potentially for the jack position, whatever, maybe he shakes some things up in that defensive end mix.
I agree with you. Okay, we have somebody wanted me to make sure I asked you about Evan Mahaffey to the basketball team. Didn't do much at Penn State as a true freshman, but he's coming here as a depth piece. He's not coming in here. He's like the 13th guy, maybe the 12th guy on scholarship. Maybe Bowen Hardman's 13. I don't know, but he's not supposed to come in here and be a stud. But Steve, what do you think about Evan Mahaffey coming in here for the basketball team as a transfer?
Yeah, what's interesting is he prepped at Moeller, and he actually had a pretty good senior year at Moeller and was actually a Mr. Basketball finalist at Cincinnati Moeller in the 2021-22 season, averaged like 17 points and, against great competition. And because Ohio State had Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale committed and Bryce Sensabaugh, so early in the process, I don't think Ohio State was a major player for Mahaffey, however we want to pronounce it. His dad, Jamie, I think is his name, played at Miami and was the coach at North College Hill when they had O.J. Mayo and Bill Walker about 15 years ago. And he's still a teacher now. He no longer coaches, and he's around the game. So Evan was brought up in the game of basketball. He's going to play the 2 or the 3 position. He's a big guard at 6'6". And I just think that he is a guy that he's got 3 years of eligibility left too, which is kind of cool. He gives you more depth if he's going to accept his role. It could be a case where he's playing a support role this year and maybe moves into more of a role as a junior and a senior. I don't have an issue with this if the coaching staff is comfortable with it, and if he's comfortable with accepting his role. I had a friend who worked at Penn State, and he swears by the kid, says that he's got just tremendous potential and could really be a frontline Big Ten player at some point. Whether we're going to see that this year or not, we don't know. I think his minutes were obviously cut down because they had a starting lineup, really good starting lineup. Penn State made the NCAA tournament for the first time in a decade and had a pretty good team and even won a game in the tournament, I believe, as I recall. And then they brought Miles Dredd, was kind of the first guy that came off the bench, a veteran fifth-year guy. And so he was kind of the 7th, 8th guy on the Penn State team last year, probably more 8th, I guess, given, he didn't do a whole lot. But Shrewsbury definitely wanted him at Notre Dame, and Penn State, the new coach there, definitely wanted him to stay at Penn State. So he was a man in demand and kind of torn 3 directions, and Ohio State, with Tanner Holden leaving, had a spot open. It doesn't look like the Bronny James thing was on again, off again, on again, off again, finally. The way it was portrayed to me, I think this kid wants to be in L.A. His parents, I think, want him to be developed in a college atmosphere, probably at Ohio State. But the kid, and believe it or not, Rich Falk, the agent with Clutch Sports or whatever it is, wanted him in LA for marketing opportunities. So he'll be, on the days the Lakers don't play, the Zoo will be over at the Galen Center at USC, I presume, tracking down Bronny. So, maybe his path to playing time is going to be better at USC than it would be in a crowded backcourt at Ohio State. Again, he would have to accept a role. He's not going to take minutes away from Bruce Thornton. Maybe he would take some away from Roddy Gale. I don't know. But, so, that's kind of the long and short of that.
Come on, Rich Paul. I mean, Columbus is going to be the new technology hub of the Midwest. We got Intel coming here, Google's building more plants and stuff. And there's plenty of marketing opportunities here in Columbus. Let's go. I know it's too late now. Oh, well, I wanted Bronny. Oh, well, great stuff from Steve Helwagen. Really appreciate it, my friend. Great stuff from Steve. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to all of you for tuning into the show. We appreciate that very much. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend.